Welcome back to Whatever We Want, a podcast about celebrating storytelling. We usually talk movies and TV shows, but because of the ongoing writers and actors strike, we are trying to stand in solidarity with them and discuss other forms of storytelling, which has been honestly a fun challenge. And I'm surprised we haven't talked about what we're talking about today to this point. I don't know why it didn't cross my mind, but we're talking about comics. A lot of the movies we talk about are based on, but we're talking about the source material this time because we're both pretty avid comic fans.
Yeah.
So we're gonna kind of just run through some of our favorite runs or like some favorite stories that stand out to us and just highlight the storytelling techniques in each one. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds good to me, dude.
All right, cool. I'm representing for our audio listeners. I have a Spidey shirt on. Daniel has red, but he's wearing a college.
I have my Mustafar. Right?
Which true. You know, there are Star Wars comics, I guess, right?
Oh yeah. No, there's definitely are, dude. They actually get into a lot of detail, especially the ones about like Darth Vader. The Darth Vader comics can get like pretty like intense to like the stuff that he had to do.
Is there any you want to talk about, or any that stand out to you? Like if I came to you and was like, what is a Star Wars or Darth Vader comic I should like start with, or like that you just think is really good, which one would you show off?
Here's the thing. I don't really remember like the series titles or anything like that, but I remember there was this series where it was Darth Vader like right after he turned, right?
When he turned from Anakin to Darth Vader.
Yeah. So, and in this line, he's going from I remember he gets in contact with some of these old relics as soon as he gets his castle and stuff set up. And there's this one, I think this was like a what if technically, but it wasn't really. And the reason I say this is because he had contact with this one kyber crystal.
Okay.
The whole, like, he started to have like this whole force vision that was so real that it practically was like a what if, right? And it was like, what if he turned good?
Oh.
So it was crazy because he turned against the Emperor and he realized what he was doing was wrong.
So it's like going from that point forward, what would happen if he like...
Yeah, he went back to Obi-Wan and like apologized. Shoot. He's like, I'm sorry, my master. I failed you. And he's like...
Dang.
Yeah, dude, it was freaking dope. There's other ones too, where he goes through like other trials and stuff like that the Emperor sets up for him. Like I know there's one where he fights, I forget if it's Force Vision or like some weird clone of Maul.
Okay.
It's funny because like, well, not funny, but it's like it's super sad. That's like the complete opposite of funny.
It's pretty funny. Actually, wait, no, it's the opposite of that. You can tell Daniel just woke up, even though it's 1 p.m. his time.
Yeah, no, I've been up since like 11, but like...
Oh, I've been up for like 45 minutes.
I was just... It's funny, I was scrolling through like Invincible comics as I was just laying in bed, but this is another thing I want to get into, if you're okay with that. I don't know if you want to be spoiled or not, but... but no,
actually,
like...
I like that show, I don't know.
But no, for this series with Vader, it was... I remember there's one point to where he's fighting this clone of Maul, and he's like really struggling because he's conflicted internally. And it gets to the point to where he takes his lightsaber and like goes through himself, and Maul asks him like, "What do you hate so much that you could defeat me?" And he says, "Myself." And like, it was like,
yeah, I've seen that like panel, like that couple of panels, and I was like, oh my gosh.
So I love stories with Vader that like revolve around him really exploring himself and like getting to understand himself emotionally. Like, because that's a big aspect of his character.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, I think that is one method that the comic books, like just overall, are better at. Is they can have like the thought bubbles, and you're able to see internally like what they're thinking a lot more than just in a movie or TV show.
Yeah,
and that's also like it's kind of like a medium ground, I guess, between books and film and stuff like that, because it's like a graphic novel, so you have like these panels of like the action that's happening, although it's not like a fluid like a video, and you don't get as much detail as like a book because you have limited space. It's only like what they're talking and like their really most inner thoughts. You don't have any like descriptions of the surrounding scene because that's in the graphic image itself.
Yeah.
It's just interesting, kind of the middle ground there. That's cool. Do you mind if I go into my first
you go ahead.
Or Tom, want to talk about? All right. Yeah. Before I get into mine, I wanted to shout out, if anyone that's listening feels inspired to like find new comic stories, definitely check out 60-Second Comic Facts on TikTok. He's been on our show before when we talked about Spider-Man No Way Home, but he like summarizes comic books basically in his videos, and I've seriously like honestly learned like about a lot of cool stories that I have never like heard of before him. He's like this encyclopedia of knowledge when it comes to comic books and like special runs and like really cool stories. Yeah, he's a super nice guy. So yeah, check him out. I'm gonna talk mainly about Spider-Man, which is why I'm wearing the Spider-Man shirt, because those were the main comics I read when I was growing up. Because my dad's college roommate, his name was Mike Pasciullo. He recently passed away, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah. Damn. Sorry to hear.
So he was the vice president of marketing at Marvel. So when my sister and I were kids, he would send us like boxes of comic books. And that's actually like my first exposure into like comic books, which got me excited about the movies, which ultimately like led me to like working in the industry, in the film industry. So Mike and my dad are like a huge part of like why I'm out here, which is really cool. But he would send us like boxes of comic books, and a lot of it was like favored towards, it was very heavy like Spider-Man comics, because those were like the kind of most PG and like lighthearted, because I was like a child. And then as I grew up, I just kind of got used to those, and I expanded a bit into like Wolverine and
what runs were they though? Was it like Amazing, Ultimate, like
it was like seriously like a huge hodgepodge, like just boxes of like random ones. Like they weren't like in order. It was just like a random story. Some of them were just like, I think the one I want to talk about first is the Amazing Spider-Man 678, I Killed Tomorrow, Part 1, Schrodinger's Catastrophe. It's a very long title. But I think this was like a sort of, it's a mini plot within like the overall arching like the Amazing Spider-Man series, but like it's I'm gonna kind of summarize and run through the story, but it's like I think the whole story was like 2 comics, and I had both comics, and luckily in the box they were like back to back, so I was able to read them instead of just finding one and not knowing where the other one was. But this one was cool because Peter Parker was like in his mid-20s at this point, so it was kind of like a later interpretation of Spider-Man, and he's like gotten pretty good at being Spider-Man, and he's also kind of gotten his life together as Peter Parker. Like he's worked out that balancing act, which were the early days. Like I think that's like a big part of the story. So he works at like this science lab where they do like all sorts of like physics experiments and stuff.
What year did this come out?
I have no idea, dude. I don't know. That is not anything I have off the top of my head. But I think it's like probably in the 2010s, somewhere in that.
So is this when he was working
decade.
on Horizon?
I don't know, Daniel. Daniel has been I just know the big points.
I'm trying to figure out which lab he's working at in your story. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
You're good. So the comic kind of like kicks off where one of his coworkers like rushes in and is like, "Hey, Peter, like look at this. I've had like a breakthrough, like a eureka moment. Like come check this out." And basically his partner brings Peter to the break room, like the normal break room. And Peter's like, "What the heck? Like this just seems like the normal break room." And the guy that built it like walks in. And he walks back out with the newspaper that was on the table, and it's the newspaper of tomorrow. So basically, he's made this break room door like a portal, as like a time machine that goes exactly one day in the future. And Peter's like, "Holy crap! Like that's incredible!" Like, and they're looking at the newspaper, and it like has stuff that like Spider-Man's done from the day that Peter hasn't done yet, and it has like this ceremony that the mayor does that is scheduled for like later that day, like the actual present day. And Peter's like, "That's crazy, let me check it out." So he walks in, and the second he steps foot in there, it's like the world changes, and it's like the future is like this catastrophic like event has happened, and like basically it looks like a nuke has gone off, and like the world has ended. And Peter like freaks out and like runs back to the present day, and he's like, what happened, and everything's still fine in the present day. And the lab guy that built it is like, I have no idea, like it just works that basically whenever you step foot through the door, like it takes you to a future as if you weren't there that whole day. So something that Peter did in that day prevents like the world from ending basically, and from this like nuke going off. And luckily they still have that newspaper of all the events that Spider-Man did in the good timeline. So Peter like runs out, and he and this lab guy are like on a phone call, and they're trying to run through all the things Spider-Man did during that day to like prevent the world from ending. And they keep the lab door open so that they can like view,
they can like hot swap and like see. Yeah,
and it's really cool because it's just like a fun. Is it Spider-Man really doing his normal day-to-day stuff, but the added stakes of like, could this be the thing that ends the world? So it's like he's like a race against the clock, like trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And he's going like around like crazy trying to stop stuff, and nothing is preventing. It's getting down like to the wire. That's basically the whole run, is him going around doing all these tasks as Spider-Man, trying to prevent the world from ending, and nothing's changing. Like at the end of the day, like it's getting close to the 24 hours that like the event's about to happen, and everything Spider-Man's doing is like not having an impact on it. Then Peter realizes, like, he runs back and tells the guy to turn off the machine, and the guy turns off the machine, and what he realized is that Peter Parker would have stayed and checked the math on that guy's experiment on the door. He would have realized that the math was off and it was an unstable time machine that was prone to explode, and they would have shut down the time machine. So it's the act of shutting down the time machine, something that Peter Parker would have done, that prevented the world from like this nuke from going off, basically.
Dang.
And I just really like that. I think Peter gets caught up in himself as being Spider-Man, and I think it shows a side that, like, oh, Peter Parker actually has a very big impact on the world too, and that shouldn't be forgotten about. And it's, at the end of the day, that's what mattered, is what Peter Parker did, not Spider-Man. So I think that was a cool story in my mind.
Yeah, no, I really like that holistically. That was pretty well summarized.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a good one. It's also I love the art style. It's like this artist from, I think, the 2010s that really had like a unique style. I don't know exactly their name, but I was really into all their comics they drew at the time. It was just a really cool interpretation of Peter Parker, and how he draws Spider-Man is really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my first comic story I wanted to talk about.
Nice.
Any thoughts on that one? You want to check it out?
No, I think it's something that we need to see more with Spidey moving forward, though. I mean, we kind of see it a little bit. Like, one of my favorites, which I'll get to in a little bit here, is Spider-Man Life Story. That goes into that. But it's the duality of, like, having more importance with Peter. And not only have we been seeing that in comics, but we also saw that more recently, say, with, like, the Spider-Man PS4 games, right?
Yeah. Like,
we're seeing that Peter has, like, a much more influence to saving people just as much as Spider-Man, which is it's a cool reflection on the value of both sides of himself.
Right.
Which I like.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of interesting stories can stem from, is the pool of Peter versus Spider-Man. And I think, you're right that it's often not highlighted a ton that Peter has significant impact on the world around him. Like, and I think that's something that's important to talk about.
That's something I feel like we're going to be starting to get. Well, not even starting, we kind of already are, with Spider-Verse, with Miles. You know, I feel like with Miles, we're starting to get, like, his individuality come out of him. Like, of course, he's a Spider-Man, but there's also, like, his uniqueness within, like, the Spider-Verse movies. But, like, I feel like comic-wise, we're needing to get a little bit more of that, too. And we kind of get some of that within Spider-Verse and the comics as well, and his importance and his role, like, from jumping from his 1610 to the Amazing, 616 universe. But that's, you know, there's a lot of stuff that happens here and there with that. But I want to talk about, like, Life Story, Spider-Man Life Story, because I feel like that was a really unique way how that story was written for Spidey, about how to age Spider-Man for whatever times he was in, and how to actually have him in, like, a universe that, like, ages properly, to say. Because like the more you like have Spider-Man comics
with this.
Well, no, because like how old has Peter been for, like, the last, like, 50 years?
Yeah, he's been, like, a teenager for, like
a teenager in his, like, his 20s, right?
He ages super well.
Maybe 30s if you're really pushing it. That's one of the biggest complaints when it comes to, like, the Amazing run.
Drop the skincare routines, Peter Parker. Come on.
It's like they want him to, like, grow up, and they want him to change. The audience.
Okay.
Right. Whereas instead they're having, like, terrible stories. Like the most recent run of Amazing Spider-Man, they had this stupid thing with, like, him and Mary Jane, and there was this guy named Paul, and then, like, Peter got stuck in another, like, reality for a little bit, and then Mary Jane, like, left Peter to be with Paul. There were, like, these kids.
Oh, no.
And it was like proposed that, like, they were Mary Jane and Paul's kids, but then that was like changed later on, and then it turns out they were just kids that they found in this other reality. No, sorry. It was so convoluted and stupid. It made Peter look like a simp, and then, like, it was just bad. It was bad.
Well, what's the good story you want to talk about?
The good story with Life Story, though, does it amazingly, because it shows Peter growing throughout, like, it pretty much does it, like, by kind of, like, decade, and you get, like, different spider suits and different iterations of him dealing with other superheroes over time, and you get a lot of the major events too.
Interesting. Does he, like, deal with, like, younger superheroes as an old, or younger supervillains as an older hero, and, like, has to come to terms with that?
Yep.
Like his agent.
And there's also
That's
times where like
interesting.
there's super villains that are older, they pass away, other ones that become more problematic as time goes on. Like I believe it starts either like in the 50s or 60s. So it's like it's kind of like OG Spider-Man, right?
Yeah.
Starting off with like actual like classic, and then it gets up to like the 20th century where he's like an older guy.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but it's really cool to see dynamic there.
I feel like that's like a really interesting, like if it's not done well, that could backfire a lot, because I feel like the core of Spider-Man is like that he's relatable because he's like just this kid trying to figure it out. So I think it would be fun to see that grow if it's done right. And it sounds like it's done right.
It was done very well. I mean, it was really nice seeing him when it came to regards to like really when it came to Civil War during that time, which I think in that universe was like in the 80s or 90s.
So he was like 40 or 50, 30 or 40.
I think he was like 30 or 40.
Okay.
I think you're right. I think he was like 40 or 50. I think in those panels he was having a little bit of gray. But yeah, so
okay.
But yeah, so it was interesting to see because again, like he still has like this great strength, like he still matches up with Cap, but at the same time, like he's beating Tony, like he's able to get Tony locked out of his suit, and he's like, he's just doing this stuff because he's like, at that time he was like, yeah, I haven't been in the Civil War because like I didn't want to be.
He's not like out of his element.
Yeah, like he's still doing stuff here and there.
Like he doesn't feel like it's in over his head at this point.
Yeah, but like he wanted to put. He also made sure that like when it came to when there's like that one final meetup, like he made sure like the guys were in check, and he's like, yeah, this is you guys shouldn't be fighting. Like you should be doing.
Yeah.
This. But in the end, it all comes to a head. When he and Miles, because there's also Miles Morales in this universe.
Oh, okay. And Peter Parker's not dead. Okay.
I believe Doc Ock takes, like with Superior Spider-Man, how Doc Ock takes over. For Peter, but in this universe it's with Miles. So
okay, sorry. Just to explain for the audience, in the Superior Spider-Man run, which is something we could talk about at some point as well, either in this episode or a future one about comics, but Doc Ock basically is like dying and mind swaps with Peter. So as he's mind swaps, and then Doc Ock's body dies, so the soul and mind of Peter Parker like dies, and Doc Ock takes over as Spider-Man, and he kind of merges with Peter's like moral consciousness a little bit, and he wants to try to do good as Spider-Man, but it's through the lens of like Doc Ock and with his convoluted sort of evil mind. So it's interesting.
Yeah, that's a very good run.
But you're saying in this universe it happens with Miles? Yeah.
In this universe it happens with Miles. It comes to when it comes to like the end of the series, you get him and Peter. Well, like Ock, Miles, right, and Peter kind of working together.
Miles.
Yeah.
Doc Miles.
Doc Side Willies. But no, there was this thing going on with this like orbital weapon that they had to go up and stop. And Peter ultimately sacrifices himself. Miles is sent back down to Earth in like an escape pod, and you get to see Peter as like a young self again with Mary Jane, because Mary Jane had already passed at this time.
Oh wow.
So he's with her again, and it was like he saved the day again, doing his Peter thing. And then there's still
Peter tingle.
There's gonna still be a Spider-Man to hold on the legacy. So
okay,
it was a very well done story. I didn't read through all of it, but I know like the gist of like the major plot hole. Like
not done well enough to finish the story. But
no, I just haven't read. Like I don't have the physical comic. Like if I had the physical thing, I'd go through all of it, dude. Like but from what I've read, it's been really good. It was a really good comic series. I would highly recommend.
Okay. Is this one that you read through TikTok? Like you just stumbled across it? Oh, yeah. Okay. I've actually read the ones I'm talking about. No, I'm kidding. That's cool. All right. Are you cool if I jump into my next one?
Yeah.
So the next one I have is I forget if it's. I remember I had this like hardback like special edition comic that I think it just was called Carnage, but I think it might be. You might know it, yeah, but it's like I think it's like a bunch of comics strung together, and it's like this self-contained this Carnage story, which I was looking at it online last night, and they're selling for $500 now, and I'm like, maybe I should find where I put that. But yeah, it's basically
appreciate a little bit.
Yeah, So the story is that Spider-Man and Venom team up against Carnage. So I think it's like a comic. Even this hardback is like kind of part of an overarching story still. So Cletus Cassidy is like this psychopathic serial killer, and he happens to be Eddie Brock's cellmate, and Eddie Brock is like the one half of Venom. And at one point, the Venom symbiote comes in and breaks Eddie out of prison and like bashes a hole in the wall. And when that happens, like a piece of the symbiote like falls off. And I think it's explained that the symbiote, like it's like asexual, so it like has it basically like has a kid in that moment, which is just a weird concept to think about. And like it just gets left behind in the cell, and it merges with Cletus Cassidy, so it's this symbiote infused with this psychopathic serial killer, and so that happens. They merge, and then I think at another point in the comic, like just separate from this, Spider-Man and Venom are fighting, and Spider-Man's it's like his most dangerous villain. Like Venom is his most dangerous villain at this point because he knows that he's Peter Parker, so his entire family's in danger. And what I think this run does well is it emphasizes that Venom is not like a villain, which is kind of interpretation of the movie, but he's just anti Peter Parker and Spider-Man. Like all of his rage and his hate goes towards Peter. He's not like out to get the world or anything like that. Like he's actually kind of like a reasonable human being besides this direct violent rage against Peter Parker. And so Peter knows this, and so it's basically only his life and his family and friends that are in serious danger. So he doesn't want to kill Venom. What he does is they go to this deserted island. I think they take like the Fantastic Four car or something like that to go to this deserted island, and they fight, and Spider-Man stages and fakes his own death. And make sure that Venom sees this. So Eddie Brock and the Venom symbiote, who both only hate Spider-Man and Peter Parker, they are like content. They're like, oh, thank freaking goodness, like Spider-Man's dead, like our mission's complete.
It's such a concept. I love that part of that series. Just imagine the Venom's on an island, like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go fishing today, you know, like
and so basically that's what happens is once they think Spider-Man's dead, they just stay on this deserted island and like are gonna like live happily ever after. And Peter goes back, he sneaks back to New York and just starts living his life. Well, then Carnage eventually comes out of the shadows and is wreaking havoc and like kind of following up on all of his past serial killer victims that like he didn't get to finish off, and just like going even crazier, like killing more because he has
all this new power,
unlimited power. And Spider-Man is like so confused because he's like, is this Venom? Looks like Venom, but it's different. And so and I think that's also cool, like the design kind of keeps devolving, because the reason Venom looks like he does is because it's taking elements of the Spider-Man costume when he was molded to the black suit, and it's like kind of more liquefied because it's not strictly that. And then Carnage is like a level removed of that, so it's like even stringy. I just think the art in it is really beautiful and cool. So Cletus Cassidy's like,
I'm pretty sure it was Todd that. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. The illustrator this run, right? Todd McFarlane.
Oh, I'm not sure. It might be. I don't know a ton about like specific artists and stuff. I know like of Todd McFarlane, but I don't know if he did this run. But so I think it's really interesting because Spider-Man can't defeat Carnage and is like in way over his head, and he basically comes to this moral quandary, and he's like, I need to go back to the island and ask Venom for help. I think it's really cool the moral dilemma that Peter goes through, because he wants to stop Carnage, but to do that he has to tell Venom that he's still alive.
So he's still alive,
and that'll put a target on him and all of the people he loves backs again. And he doesn't know what to do, and there's a bit where he's like debating if he's gonna do it or not, and ultimately that goes back to the core of Spider-Man, like always doing the right thing. So he does sacrifice his own personal safety for the safety of the greater good, and he goes back to the island to confront Venom and tell him, hey, I'm alive, and something happened with Carnage. Like there's this new guy Carnage around. It's like a symbiote, and at first Venom's like pissed. He's like, what the heck? And like they start to have like a little battle, but once Peter explains like and calms Venom down, Venom again going back to like how he is not this evil guy, he just hates Spider-Man. He realizes like, oh, this is his fault. Like the symbiote tells him like, yeah, I had a child, and he's like, what the heck? And he realizes like because he also knows how crazy Cletus Cassidy was. He knows this is bad, and so they temporarily team up and fight Carnage together, and it's like this super tense team up because they're like enemies, but they like work together to go back to the city, and like they fight Carnage. And at the end it culminates, Venom tells Spider-Man to point like a sound gun or like use speakers against, like cranked up really high against both the symbiotes, because like Venom hasn't Carnage held down because like the symbiotes are susceptible to sound. And Venom is like, keep going, like it hurts me, but like the offspring can't be as powerful as like the the parent. And so like eventually the Carnage symbiote like dissipates and is like at bay, like no longer a threat, and it gets contained. And then Venom's like, all right, Peter, stop, like I'm good, we're good. And Spider-Man's like, I'm sorry, for my own safety, like I have to put you in justice. I have to even so Spider-Man like kind of goes back on his word for his own safety and his family's, which is like this really morally questionable situation that he's in, which I love that they like explore that in the story. And then eventually Venom gets detained, and it adds to his hate for him because Spider-Man went back on his word again. So it like builds tension for the next time they ever fight. So it's just a really cool, very cool run. Cool stuff.
I think you summarized that pretty well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Also, side note, did you know that when Venom, like, you know how his tongue, he has like all the green stuff that comes out every now and then? You know that's his excrement?
Oh, really?
Yeah, like whenever he eats people or anything like that, that green stuff that he like spits out or like has on his tongue, that's excrement.
He poops?
Yep.
Okay. What? Thanks. I could have gone my whole life without knowing that.
I don't know why you made me think of that. I was like, you know what? Let me give him this little weird fact. You know?
Your face just reminds me of poop, so I figured I had to bring it up. Interesting.
Yeah. I think we need to get off Spidey a little bit. He has a lot of great stories, but I think we need to change it up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I've done 2. You've done 1. Do you want to do 1 more, and we can call it there?
I think we did 2 if you include the Vader one.
Vader,
it's more like a tidbit thing. It wasn't
we'll
really
do
an
1
arc,
more,
but...
see what we're at, and then maybe we could do a part 2 sometime in the future, because there's a bunch of stories we can talk about.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So what's your last one you want to talk about?
Okay, I kind of want to talk about Invincible, but I don't want to ruin anything for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that, because I really like the show. You haven't seen the show still, yeah? Have you?
No, I have.
Oh yeah, sorry, it's The Boys you haven't seen. Okay. Yeah. Then
I can still talk about season 1 because you've seen season 1.
Yes.
Which is out. Yeah. So I feel like that's a good arc, and what's beautiful about season 1 and like this original arc when it comes to Invincible kind of sets up everything else that happens within the universe, right? Which there's a lot that happens in this universe. There's a lot when it comes to just really dark tropes, multiversal stuff. A lot of moral questioning when it comes to like the development of Mark over time. I mean, early on, like in this thing where like he's questioning because he has all this power, right? He's like, hey, should I?
Can you summarize like at the beginning of
kill?
Invincible?
Should I not kill? Stuff like that. And, well, no, I'm going to get to that. But what I'm trying to say is, like, I'm trying not to spoil stuff for you, but I'm also trying to like let you know like what's
that
to
like
come.
It's building to something good still.
Yes. No.
Okay.
Like this is it's in totality, it's beautiful, right? And that's what this run really did. It kind of opened up us with this new superhero, Mark Grayson, developing his superpowers and trying to figure out who he is as a person and what it means to be a hero, right?
Spoilers for Invincible,
yeah, we should
like the
probably
comic
say that too,
and
spoilers for
the
all that.
show coming up.
Yeah.
So just if you haven't seen it, you want to skip to the next section.
Now, to start off, we really should be starting off with Omni-Man, which is his dad, right? And Omni-Man is an alien that very Superman-like came to Earth and became a superhero and started saving people. And he joined the Guardians of the Globe, kind of. He wasn't really an official member, but he helped out.
Just like
when
a
it came
team
to,
of superheroes.
Yeah. They're kind of like knockoff
Avengers.
Justice League, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like it kind of adds to like when they all die mysteriously. So now the rest of the world and the secret organization of, I forget what the government's secret government whatever thing it's called. It's run by Cecil, this really creepy guy with a scar on his face. And his job to protect the world. And he's like, okay, but we have the Guardians of the Globe, we have these other superhero teams, but like the Guardians just died, and we need to figure out why, and why Omni-Man was the only survivor when this attack happened, right? So that there's kind of like this mystery arc going on in the beginning, and you're trying to figure out, okay, like what happened, why, and so on.
Oh, interesting. So in the comic, you don't know it's Omni-Man?
Well, no, in the comic, you do know it's Omni-Man too. I should have said that. For Cecil, it's like a mystery of him trying to figure out what's going on. Right?
Okay, gotcha.
He's very suspicious of Omni-Man, considering he's the only survivor, and like how the people were killed.
Yeah,
but he's trying to figure out all this, like why Omni-Man would do this, and he's trying to keep it on the DL. At the same time, though, we have Omni-Man's son, Mark Grayson, who is now just developing superpowers as a teenager.
Right. It's kind of like Sky High, a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. We're gonna put you in a different class based on your gym skills.
Sidekick.
Hero. But yeah, so Mark's just now developing his powers, and he's figuring out, okay, so now I'm able to fly. I have super strength. I'm like have this really strong resistance to things, and he starts meeting up with the Teen Team, which is another group of superheroes, a bunch of teens. That
like a ripoff of the Teen Titans.
Yeah, pretty much. And along the way, there's teen drama, there's relationship stuff, there's cheating going on with some internal members.
It's kind of like a high school classic drama show or dramedy show, but with the flavor of superheroes. Yeah,
exactly. And you even get to the point where you get some like mad scientists like experimenting on people, like college students, and you like make them into like robot cyborgs.
Yeah.
So you get all kinds of crazy stories like that, and like little episode short arcs. But overall, you really start seeing like the big arc is where Mark is starting to realize himself what his dad did.
Yeah.
And it all comes to a head when like Omni-Man kind of like admits it to him as like this giant kaiju monster is terrorizing a city. So then Mark is like trying to save the city, work with his dad, but then like figure out like why his dad would do this. And then that's when Omni-Man comes forward with the truth and tells him like, hey, we're Vultramites, which is our alien race's name, and we are conquerors. We conquer worlds for the Ultramite Empire.
So the reason Omni-Man's there is that he's like prepping Earth to
be conquered, right?
Yeah.
And he shows how little he thinks of humanity by literally throwing Mark through like cities and people and like
trains.
The
subway shot.
Yeah, dude.
Again,
that was
spoilers, but in the I'm also this happens in the comic, but in the show, like he actually we probably shouldn't talk about the show because of the strike and stuff, but does this happen in the comic too?
Yeah.
In the comic, I guess then, like I said, he like Omni-Man flies down and
I don't know if the strike thing happens specifically, but we'll just say it does.
Well, I don't know then. It's a really good scene. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an interesting, and that's where the show ends. But I guess the comic like continues, and they're making more seasons of the show.
Oh yeah. Well, we should say this. Like Omni-Man's like throwing Mark around like crazy, right? But like the way it actually ends is as Omni-Man is trying to make Mark realize, like, hey, we're gonna live for thousands of years. Like humans only live for so long. Like we'll see this planet turn to dust.
Yeah, he even says his wife is like a pet to him.
Yeah,
basically.
he's like, but like it's like a totally terrible mindset. But then Mark, being both Vultramite and human, he's like, he has that sentimental value, obviously, towards people because he's like, these are my people.
Yeah,
and he's like, I'll still have you, Dad. Like I'll still have both, right? Because I am both. And his dad realizes that, and that
he has
instead
like this
of like
moral
killing his son,
epiphany.
He decides to leave the planet and completely he abandons his post as a Vultramite
which is like a huge no.
Yeah.
And that's where the first season ends, but I know the comic continues.
Oh yeah, it continues a lot. It gets really weird right after that with what Omni-Man does, but I don't want to spoil you, but
okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, those are some good comics. I'm happy kind of leaving it there for the day. Maybe saving some more stories for a part 2 someday.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, let us know in the comments below if there are any specific comic runs you want us to talk about, or if you want us to even do a part 2, or any characters you'd like want us to talk about, kind of thing, in a part 2. But yeah, this episode just makes me want to read more comics. Like this is
honestly,
yeah.
I feel like I'm a skimmer. Like I skim through things. I'm like, oh yeah, that art's cool, and like, oh no, I get the arcs that are going on here and stuff like that. I feel like I've definitely been reading Invincible a lot more, which is why like I want to talk about it. Like I know like all the major arcs now, but I'm just like
Daniel, maybe I'll read. Actually, no. I want to watch it on the show.
You want to watch the show?
You should watch The Boys, though. I think that's also based on a comic. Yeah. So check that out. And I think they like do things differently.
Plus, we didn't get into anything like DC or like The Watchmen. It's just DC.
I mentioned because I talk about Spider-Man a lot because that's what I grew up on. But we can get into that potentially next time. I wanted to talk about Batman: The Killing Joke, but we can do that.
Next
time. Yeah. All right. I have a food for thought for you.
Okay.
Just a food discussion thing. What is your favorite amusement park snack or amusement park treat? Because when we did our food tier list, we talked about like certain desserts. We were like, this would be perfect in like an amusement park scenario, but nowhere else. So I'm like, what would be the best out of those amusement park delicacies?
So we got like funnel cake, we got pizza, we got like corn dogs, we got like.
Oh, you say pizza? Yeah, I guess so.
There's pizza at like amusement parks.
Yeah.
Like that. I'm thinking about like what's over at Hershey, you know, like stuff like that, or like whenever there's like the York Fair.
Chocolate. Yeah. The list I had was pickle on a stick, like really some fries just drenched in salt and vinegar.
It's okay. I have to be in the mood for it.
I'm just saying these are the options.
Yeah.
These are the options I'm saying. And then we got funnel cake, hot dog, corn dog, soft serve ice cream is like a classic. Deep fried stuff like deep fried Oreos seem to always be there.
Oh yeah.
Churros. Yeah, that's kind of my list. And
I'm going to say corn dog, and here's why.
I know you're a corn dog fiend.
I love corn dogs, dude. Especially if it's like the. I remember I used to get the ones where it's like the sausage with the syrup in them too. Like that was fucking like those would slap.
What?
But yeah, I don't know if they were ever.
I've never done that.
I feel like they're at carnival sometimes, but they're like hard to find. Usually just get the regular one, but here's why, right? With the Oreos one, you get chocolate and deep fried, but it always sits.
I feel
in
like
your
it's
gut
too
heavy.
much. Yeah,
you never
like
feel good after eating that. Pizza's generally it's like the baseline utility like food, so like it works anywhere. Easy to grab, easy to eat, you're good. Okay, but when it comes to like
and to eat.
When it comes to like funnel cake and it gets like messy, and then you get.
But it has fun in the name, Daniel.
It does.
I think a funnel cake is elite at a carnival, like an amusement park, because it's like a once in a while treat, and it's just like a fun thing that a group can like snack on really quick.
But it's not really that filling.
And the sugar is like gone by the time it gets to the bottom.
And that's why a corn dog's a perfect thing, because it's different from pizza. You still get a nice healthy thing of meat in you, right? Ayo. And then it's just perfect. I love meats and carbs, man. I could go in all day on okay, I'm not going to finish that sentence, but
okay, Daniel, all day, all night.
I just love corn because it's easy to handle. It's easy to attack.
Yeah, you handle that meat very well. That's
okay. Shut up. Jesus.
I think I respect that decision, because I think my choice would be a pickle on a stick, and I know pickle can be like iffy with some people, but I for people that like pickles, like I personally really like pickles on a stick. It's like my favorite way to consume a pickle in an amusement park environment. And it's also a very similar like if you look at the silhouette of a corn dog and a pickle on a stick, it's the same silhouette. So like the action is the same. So I think we can appreciate that.
I can
it,
appreciate
like the visual
that, Jake.
representation. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I can appreciate that, and like again, like the process of eating it is clean, you know.
You don't like the flavor though.
No, dude, fuck pickles.
Okay, I understand that you don't like it, but for someone that does like pickles,
no, I
that's why
I get
I'm
it. It's you.
It's
more for you. It works.
Let
out
me do
that
me.
Way, you know,
yeah,
you get two. I get two corn dogs.
I'll double fist pickles on a steak. You'll double fist.
Dude, I want to kind of do that now. We should go to like a York Fair or like a carnival out there or something, and like we're just walking up. Like, we don't even eat them. We just have I have my corn dogs. You got your pickles. We're just walking down the street.
I feel like that could be like a hard album cover, like just us with like a roller coaster and like a Ferris wheel in the background, and like an explosion, just both holding up.
Oh my god.
I also want to shout out the Turkey Club at Knoebels in the Alamo, this restaurant in the middle of the park. It is fire, dude. Really solid. Like when you've been walking around all day and just like need some calories, some carbs, go for that. Like it hits differently.
Dude, now that you say that, I was thinking about the last time I went to like Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
And the Ronto wrap, dude. It's so good.
Yeah,
it's
never had
it's literally just like a bread wrap with like I forget if it's beef or pork in there, but
it's Ronto
and like cheese. Yeah, you're right.
Come on.
And then I had like a side of mac and cheese, man. Like that. It was
they have
so
cheese
good.
in Star Wars. Dang.
Yeah, anything could be milk. We have blue milk. We got green milk.
Yeah,
we got
I guess it's
milk.
We got milk.
But yeah, dude, it was so good. I also bought my spork that time, so I was eating it with my spork. And it was so cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love how proud you are of this spork.
It's
You
such a
bring it
funny
up, like,
meme,
every
dude. I
time
love
you
the meme
can.
with the spork. I love the lore behind it.
Can you remind everyone the lore of it?
So when Galaxy's Edge first opened, right, they were giving like these metal, like really well done sporks for people to eat their meals with, right? And you're supposed to turn it back in with your tray. But of course, people would steal the sporks because they're so high quality. And then the parks are pissed off about this. So like, hey, stop stealing the sporks. Of course, that just made people steal the sporks more. so they stopped giving out the sporks. They started giving people like plastic utensils. But then later on, they started selling the sporks as like a meme. And then it came like a little bag and everything. I'm like, I want myself a spork. So I got myself a spork.
So you bought yours, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Didn't
I
get
feel
it.
like
You
I
didn't
don't
steal
know
it
if my
illegally.
mom stole one. Shout out to
Oh,
my
you're
mom.
outing her?
No, I don't think she did because like I never seen it at the house. So like,
Watch
it's only
the
my
police
spork.
barge on our door, pulling up this exact clip. Did you steal a spork? Your son said you stole a spork.
Oh my god! FBI, open up! But yeah, no, it's just a really funny like meme with that.
Man, I want to go to like an amusement park or a carnival. I miss Knoebels a lot. I really like.
I don't know if I've ever been.
Dude, I grew up there because my grandfather grew up there, so we would go every summer and like spend a week there like camping and then just going to the park, and we'd have like a couple days where we just do rides, and we do like one day where we just do games. It's like the perfect like grandparent park because you don't have to pay to get in, so grandparents can come and like watch their kids on the rides, but you can still get like an unlimited ride pass if you want. And the rides are actually like pretty good.
Noise.
All right. Any other last minute things to talk about before we jump into the next segment?
No, I think that's pretty much it. I think we had a nice little food for thought there.
All right. Ready for the Patron shoutouts?
Yeah, hit me with them.
Cue the Epic Star Wars music. Boosh, got Patron, Lori, Frank, Rick, Lisa, Evan, Tony. Thank you so much for pledging the tier. Thank you for the shout out. If you'd like to support us over on Patreon, link is down in the description. You get the audio episode early, special benefits, cool perks, all that jazz, and more. Thank you seriously, sincerely to our Patron supporters. Ready for cool comments?
Yeah.
On one of our TikToks where we posted about which has the best fast food fries, Mark JH said, McDonald's are not good fries. I don't get the hype. Anyone can add salt. They're not even crispy, just limp little sticks. So yeah, I think I was saying that I appreciate the McDonald's fry every so often, and because that stemmed from my mom.
He's not
and
wrong.
just
There's
crapping on.
it really is a crapshoot. Sometimes they're like really soggy.
Sometimes
other
they're
times
really soggy.
They're really crispy.
They're usually really soggy though, which is I think is again working against it.
Maybe we need to add length to our girth to crisp.
Oh,
Girth to crisp to length, because I feel like the longer ones are usually limper.
I don't know. Maybe.
It can also apply to like steak fries. I don't know if it would apply to waffle fries. We'll have to.
I think girth to crisp
whiteboard
is
this.
fine enough. Like, yeah, we have to whiteboard this because I don't want to overcomplicate this perfection, this lightning in a bottle we have. But yeah. All right. You ready for the introduction?
Yeah. Tell me when.
When?
We just talk about whatever we want to talk about, and now we're done.
Thank you seriously, sincerely to everyone for checking this out and listening. We'll be back next time. Goodbye.
Bye.